Hello, hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Bonnie, Old Soul Mermaid. And today I'm going to be doing a side-by-side comparison of the Revival Art Tarot 1 and the Revival Art Tarot 2 by Tarocco Studios. So if you've kind of been on the fence as to which one that you might be attracted to, because they are, they're independent decks and they are higher on the price point. And if you could only get one, which one would you choose? So if that sounds like something you're interested in, let's get to it. Taken both decks out of the boxes, and as you can see, the original was in a tuck box, and so is the second edition. Those are the backs for comparison, and this is the front. Now the boxes do differ in the way they close. Now this one has this little flap that tucks in to the slot here, and I find it very cumbersome. So I like the fact that they made the second edition in just a regular tuck box. It's easier to fiddle with. So I do like that. I wish they came for as much as you spend on these decks in a nice two-piece box, but that's neither here nor there. Both beautiful though in the artwork, depicting these are cards in both decks. And it's not a flimsy tuck box, but it is a tuck box. Okay, so next, the guidebooks. Now, one complaint that maybe they listened to was in the guidebook of the first edition, look how small that printing is. From here, I can't even read it with my reading glasses. I'm a little bit set apart, there's an arm hanging over my table holding my phone, but it is very, very small, and you need, for some of us with old eyes, you need a little bit of a magnifying glass or supersonic reading glasses, just high powered. They did do a better job with the guidebook in the second edition, and look at that. And also, they put the painting and the artist in, the name of the painting and the artist in the guidebook in the second edition, which they didn't have in the first edition. So both are typical little white books, just very rudimentary meanings, but at least in the second edition, you do get the name of the artwork and the artist, whereas in the first edition, you do not, and you have super, super teeny tiny writing. Okay, so let's bring out the decks. And you can see, of course, they're going to change the backs. Which one do I like better? I love them both. So it's really potato preference. I think they're both beautiful. This one has a thinner border, and then they went a little bit more ornate with the second edition. Now, how we're going to proceed forward, I'm going to flip the decks over and we're going to do a musical flip through. Now, while I'm flipping through the cards, I'm going to be just very quickly on the fly. I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to pick a card from each of the decks, from either deck, so I can make, at the end, my preferred deck with my preferred images. So there may be some images from Revival Art 1 that I prefer, like I may prefer the High Priestess in here. That will be the one I'll pull off to the side. I may like the Tower card in this one better. I'm going to pull that off to the side, so I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm going to be flipping through, but I'm going to be putting some cards off to the side. We'll come back and we'll see which deck had more of my preferred cards, and then we're going to put it into a deck a third deck. So it'll be a Revival Art 3 of my own making. So with that, let's go to the musical flip through. you enjoyed that musical flip through. Now, while I was doing all that, I was just picking a card that I preferred from each deck. So in the Revival Art 1 deck, I picked 53 favorite cards. And in the Revival Art 2, I picked 25 favorite cards. So I definitely had more favorites in the Revival Art 1 than I did in the Revival Art 2. Not to say that I'm not glad that I have both decks. Now, if you noticed, in the Revival Art 2, they had 4 extra cards. The Princess cards. Now, move that off to the side. As you can see, so we've got the Princess of Wands, Princess of Swords, Princess of Cups, and Princess of Coins. Now I went to the guidebook, and I'm not sure whether you're supposed to keep these in as extra cards or you can switch them out with the pages. So taking a look at the guidebook here. So we'll just look at the Minor Arcana, the Wands. So they have both of them listed here. So they have the Princess listed before the page. So for the Princess of Wands, the meaning they have is inspiration, ideas, discovery. For the reverse, they have newly formed ideas redirecting energy. Now for the Page of Wands, they have enthusiasm, exploration, discovery, free spirit. And then for the reverse meanings, they have setbacks to new ideas, pessimism, lack of direction. So they are kind of the same, but then a little bit different. See, the Princess of Wands doesn't really have a shadow meaning to it, you know, a real reversed meaning as the page does. So it will be up to you whether you want to use a princess instead of a page, or use both. They are kind of the same, so I can't see the benefit of having both in it. So I think, you know, you pick one or the other in the Revival Art 2. So that would be up to you, but at least you have that option in the Revival Art 2 deck. So, and they're beautiful. They're all very, very beautiful. So what I think I'm going to do right now is I'm going to combine my favorite cards from each deck to make a Revival Art 3 deck of my choosing. So I will be right back. Okay, let's see if I can manage this, if I'm coordinated enough to manage this. This is my Revival Art 3 deck. So it is a combination of the Revival Art 1 and the Revival Art 2. My preferred cards are here in the middle. And you'll also be able to tell what deck it's from because Revival Art 2 has the double kind of frame border here, where Revival Art 1 is more simple with just the one. So let's see. Now when I was picking, I just did it, you know, by the gut, by the fly. I didn't try to think about it too much. Just, you know, intuitively, I picked what appealed to me. So let's look. So I picked this Fool from the Revival Art 2 as opposed to the Fool in the Revival Art 1. Just because something about the Court Jester, the Fool, something I liked about this one better. I you know, at this point, just I went by my gut feeling. This Magician almost looks like the same Magician, but at this point, there's something about the more up close studying the book by candlelight, something that appealed to me. They look like they could be by the same artist. Actually, it almost could be the same person, but I like the one in the Revival Art 2, and I'll try to be quick about this. Something more dark, mysterious about this High Priestess in the Revival Art 1 appealed to me over the Revival Art 2. This Empress right here. For some reasons, something about her expression just appealed to me more than the Revival Art 2. They're very similar, but I don't know, maybe it was this little person right here, just kind of hiding and cowering. I don't know, but that's the one I picked. Something about this one appealed more to me than this one in the Revival Art 2. As far as the Hierophant, I much prefer the kind of teacher and pupil as opposed to the more authoritarian figure. All right, for the Lovers, this one shows more of an attachment. This one is more aloof and a little bit cold. I really like the young passion in this one. I love in this Chariot the Dr. Zhivago vibe in this one, so I picked that one for the Chariot. More traditional Justice in the Revival Art 2, so I picked that one. And I do like this one though, but, oh, sorry, wrong card. Strength? No, Justice. We're looking at Justice. Okay. Yes, the scales, a little bit more traditional depiction. I told you this is going to be a juggling act. Okay, Strength, more traditional, and I just went with the traditional over this. I think this one is really, really cool as well. I like the look, the expression on this hermit's face with all his tools. This wheel I preferred over this one because there's, I don't know, kind of a little bit, instead of just letting fate turn, you have somewhat of an active choice, you know, because sometimes, you know, you go one path, the Wheel of Fortune is going to turn one way. If you choose another path, the Wheel of Fortune turns the other. These are really interchangeable, both depicting Christ, but I chose this image. I'm trying to go through these really fast. So, Death. I like the fact that this person is pleading with the Angel of Death. This one seems a little bit more passive. I think this one fits the mood better. Temperance. This one you've got the two jugs and maybe more of the alchemy of the mixing, but I love the more realistic attribute to this painting. Just the skin, the realistic skin, her feet. It's an artistic, basically on an artistic basis. I prefer that one. Okay, the Devil. I love how this devil is shown as a shadowy figure because our demons are shadowy figures, and I picked that one from Revival Art 2. This tower, closer vantage point of the people here. You see the crumbling of a tower, but you see the despair with the people, so I choose that one. I like the darker vantage point, you know, the darker background for the star. Something about this one really appealed to me, looking out the window and dreaming on the moon. And from an artistic view, there's crackles in the painting from age. I just preferred this one. I picked this sun because this is it is classical, it is traditional, but so I decided to go with something different. Judgment, this one was potato, potato. I had to pick one, so I picked this one. The World, again, I thought this, even though they're almost the same thing, this one I think captures it a little bit better. And I will tell you, I picked all the aces just for continuity for the from the Revival Art one. The Two of Wands, here we have, you know, this, they're both looking out on their out on the horizon, but I think this one has a little bit more of a dreamy like quality to her. She has more to gain from dreaming than this woman does. Look, she's obviously a highborn lady. This one, you know, she's pretty much fixed in her station, but she can dream. I just much preferred this one in the Revival Art one for the Three of Wands. I think it depicts the meaning of the card better. And the same with this Four of Wands. I love, these are similar energy. I love them both, but I kind of love the tongue-in-cheek and humor in this one with the Five. And for some reason, I just preferred this instead of a little baby wearing the wreath. You know, I love the king here. And I was much more drawn to this Seven of Wands, you know, biblical stories, as opposed to this one. Again, little cherubs. Yeah, I went with the Revival Art one. As far as the Nine of Wands, I just thought this gentleman looked a little bit more war-weary, like he's really taking a breather before he gets up and he goes again. The Ten of Wands is a really sad little figure, but I think this card captures the juggling, the burden a little bit more, you know, everyday burdens. The pages. I will tell you, I went with all the pages from the Revival Art 1 because they were all different. In the Revival Art 2, if you notice through my flip through, they picked the same page for the most part, and just put them in different get-ups. So I like the variety in the Revival Art 1. Really, potato, potato, I just went with this one. I did pick all the King and Queens from the Revival Art 1 because I thought they matched the best. So, disclaimer there. And I thought the Kings and Queens went together very well. So again, I told you I picked all the aces from Revival Art 1. The Two of Cups. I like her little side eye. If you can see her side eye, that was everything. Even though you get kind of a similar posture, I love how his arm is around her waist, a little bit more closeness. He's kind of approaching her, you know, with kid gloves. I like the character of this one. Love the color of this Three of Cups. They're basically, you know, similar energies, but I chose this one. So as far as the Four of Cups, I just felt that the older gentleman with the young, maybe his grandson, trying to communicate with him, depicted more of the essence of the Four of Cups to me. The same, I thought this this image captured the Five of Cups for me better than this one from the Revival Art 2. These are very similar, but for some reason this one really tugs at my heartstrings from the Revival Art 1. I liked this Seven of Cups from the Revival Art 2. It pictures Aladdin's lamp, kind of in Aladdin's cave, Arabian Nights type. Yeah, I like the energy in this one. What have we got here? The Eight of Cups. I think this is Adam and Eve being cast out of the Garden of Eden. I much prefer this one. This young man, it's time for him to move on from his happy home, his loving parents, and strike out on his own. So I prefer this to the being cast out. This is more of a choosing, even though they did choose to partake from the tree of knowledge, but I prefer this. All right, Nine of Cups. I prefer this Falstaff character here, close-up vantage point. Yeah. What have we got? 10 of Cups. I like the intimacy, the close-up vantage point of this one. I love the look of the father's face. It's usually an adoring mother looking at her children, but I love how the father is looking at his children as well. And I think she reminds me of a Kate Winslet here. So I told you I picked the pages from the Revival Art 1 because they're different. I prefer the Knight on the Horse just for consistency from the Revival Art 1. The Queen, I much prefer her. She's a historical figure, I believe. She was known by the nickname of Cece, and her title in what country? I think Austria. Anyway, she's a historical figure, and I think she's beautiful. And this King, I picked the same from the Revival Art 1 because it matches very well. And the Ace is from the Revival Art 1. Now, as far as the Two of Swords, see that they are the same model here, and this is done probably by the same artist. But I love that, well, here she has her hands crossed, kind of like the traditional swords depicted, but excuse me, I love how her ears, she's plugging her ears, and that's kind of what happens. Kind of we have to tune out the noise to be able to make a choice, and obviously she's getting input from the peanut gallery, and sometimes we just got to shut everything off and just listen to within to be able to make that choice. And that's why I picked this one, even though they're both beautiful. The Three of Swords, I just thought that she is beautiful and serene, and she's in a precarious position, but I think this one maybe depicts heartache more because she is a little bit older. But yes, there are different kinds of heartache, but I just picked this one because I was working fast. Okay, here we have a traditional Four of Swords, but I surprisingly picked the one of Christ in the desert, you know, being tested by the devil, by Satan, you know, fasting 40 days and 40 nights. And I don't know how you would feel, what kind of mindset you would be after that. Is this the end of his journey after he's been tested? You know, he looks like he's been through something, and he's taking a rest. And that's why I picked that one. Five of Swords. You know, I had a hard time with these two, but I just picked one and I went with this one. Okay, the Six of Swords. This one looks like a romantic couple being ferried across. Maybe they're going to elope, but I liked this one depicting the whole family moving off to greener pastures over the water. Like it is an actual exodus that has to be made, a migration that has to be done, whether they want to or not. And I preferred that. Seven of Swords, I picked this one maybe because of the darker tones and color palette, even though they're kind of the same. Okay, this Eight of Swords. I love this Eight of Swords. She looks like a young nun contemplating her future. Reminds me a lot of that PBS masterpiece show Call the Midwife, and a couple of times we had characters, the nun characters, contemplating their futures and wondering if they made the right decisions on their path. Just the beauty of the artwork, it is so lifelike. It's like a photograph, and I'm wondering if it is a photograph almost because of how skilled the painter was. I love this Eight of Swords. I picked this Nine of Swords because that's what you feel like in a Nine of Swords moment. I chose this Ten of Swords because there's some finality here when you're in the coffin and dead. But I think it depends on whose journey you're looking at. Could it be the widow who's going to have to embark after her beloved family member or friend or whatever has died? Or is it this gentleman you want to follow? He's gonna get sliced, but he's not dead yet, so maybe in the 11th hour something will come and save him or help his situation. So there's hope in this card. It doesn't look like it, but there is. Again, I picked the page from the Revival Art 1. This one, they're interchangeable, so I just grabbed one. Again, let's see, we are going to the, I gotta move him. Yes, the Queen of Swords. She's older, she's mature, she's been through more life than this beautiful Queen of Swords. So obviously I'm going to pick her and her matching king. There's the ace, and I just prefer this one. They're both beautiful, but I prefer this one for the Two of Coins. Oops, I need to get that ace out of the way. The Three of Coins, I prefer this more realistic collaboration depiction here. I love the close-up vantage point here for the Four of Coins. I picked this Five of Coins. They're both desperate situations, two little children, but what's more, it's also desperate a mother. I get kind of a Les Mis feel here with Fatim and her baby and just kind of the desperation here. So I just went with this one. You know, we often get the Lady Bountiful depiction for the Six of Coins. I picked this one. Just kind of an everyday kind of giving, receiving in our families, in our neighborhoods, and of just giving the resources of what you have. And not necessarily being in a position of wealth. Sometimes it's people who have the least who will give the most. I like her wistful dreaming here, you know, when her harvest is coming in, or, you know, whatever she's waiting for, you get more of that in this card. Both of these I love. Both are crafts people, but because she's working with textiles and I sew, I went with her. The Nine of Coins, I want to be where she is right now. So that's why I picked her. I picked this one just because of the more traditional aspect. I chose this page, of course, because I told you I was going to. But I also love that, I love both of these, but I love that he has a hiding place in the bookcase. I think that's adorable. Potato Potato. He's a little bit up close, so I picked him. Again, this may be Cece, don't know, but she is a historical figure and a little bit more maturity than this one. So I went with her and her matching cape. we have now reached the end, thank goodness, right, of my side-by-side comparison of the Revival Art 1 and the Revival Art 2 decks. All right, so it's kind of a long video. Now, some final thoughts. Do you need both decks? I would say yes, but only if you are a super fan, like I am, of these of this type of artwork, this classical art. Now, this video may serve you if you're trying to say, well, maybe I want one of these classical art depiction decks in my own personal collection. And so this video would serve you if you're not a super fan and maybe you're trying to decide which one would resonate with you. I am a big fan of old art and these decks, so I have these two decks, and you know, if you've seen my collection, it's just something I gravitate towards and I'm a big fan of, but not everybody is. Some people may find, oh, I like looking at these decks and I will look at unboxing videos, but they're not something I really want to read with, and that's totally fine, in which case, you know, entertainment here. So let me know if you agreed with my choices, you know, how I picked all of the kings and queens from this one deck. I just preferred them, in all honesty. And I also, in the Revival Art one, I picked all of the same pages and the aces just to keep it coherent. Now, I will say I do like the choice with the Revival Art 2 that they give you with these beautiful, beautiful princess cards. And that's the advantage of this deck, that you can choose to have princesses or pages. Maybe you want to include both. I think that would get a little bit overwhelming for me, but you could. It could be something you could experiment with. Also, the book is easier to read in the Revival Art 2. And it does have the extra advantage, if you're an art fan, of you know, the information of the name of the painting and the artist. So let me know your thoughts. You know, I did pick way more cards, almost about twice as many from this deck as favorites than I did from the Revival Art 2, but I still truly love this deck. Haven't decided if I'm going to keep, you know, maybe a combined deck or just use them separately. Haven't decided. So with that, yeah, leave your comments below. Let me know if you agree, disagree with my choices. Let me know if you have both decks and what you've done. Have you combined these two decks to work as one? Do you tend to grab one over the other? And do you have one and you think, okay, I've seen both decks and that's all I need? So with that, I will leave you to get on with your beautiful day. Bye for now.